The crime stats. Well, the Chief Minister has been out this morning, about an hour ago, I think, releasing the latest crime statistics. The stats cover the period of January to August this year, with 1,273 less victims of crime than in the same months the previous year. That is what the Chief Minister said, that it's a reduction of 7.4%. Now, the government say the past 8 months, more than 1,200 fewer offences were recorded territory-wide, including major reductions in robberies, house break-ins and commercial burglaries. So offences against the person have dropped 16%, assaults are down 19%, residential break-ins have fallen 24%, commercial burglaries have plummeted 38%. However, I will say that I know whenever we dabble in crime statistics, you've got to be real careful, because there is always someone listening who's been a victim of crime, who've had something happen. And I know that for you guys in your communities, I don't know whether things have gotten a heck of a lot better in Alice Springs or in Tennant Creek. You tell me.
Well, look, Katie, we're hearing this morning that the crime stats are out. They don't get released publicly till 10:30. So after 10:30, I'll certainly have a deep dive and look at those stats. But of course, any trend down is a welcome trend.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But again, really keen to just get the breakdown and see what are the actual statistics for Alice Springs, for Tennant Creek, for Katherine, for the wider territory, not just the overall snapshot. I am interested in looking at what the assaults or crime or harm to another is. But of course, any decrease is a welcomed thing, whether that is, and I think that this will be the interesting work now, is looking at, and I'm interested to hear from Steve, is it a particular measure that they think personally has worked, or is it a suite of measures? Is it combined with the Commonwealth's financial investments that have gone into Central Australia, funding a number of programs? And importantly, and absolutely most importantly, just really acknowledging again today our hard-working police and frontline officers doing an amazing job, our members of the judiciary who are following the laws and making sure that they are considering those. So I think, look, I'm absolutely the first to say any decrease is a welcome decrease.
We certainly didn't see these decreases under your watch, Chansey. I just have to throw that in. So it is very encouraging to see these small incremental decreases in crime. Can you see the difference on the streets of Alice Springs? Probably not yet. Would you agree, Chansey?
Yeah, I think we've got to remember as well, Katie, you summed it up beautifully, and Robyn, you've hit the nail on the head as well. Crime affects each of us differently, and I think we are still seeing a lot of public drunkenness and antisocial behaviour. So I think it's a motive issue, and it's going to take some time to do the work. And again, it's a personal thing. I have spoken to some people, that will say that they've seen changes, and then I've spoken to other people in particular suburbs who say there's been no change. So it depends where you are,
and the years of damage caused by the deterioration in law and order is very difficult to turn around. It's difficult to turn around the deterioration in our streets and the way those obvious signs of wear and tear from crime and law and order. We had friends stay with us over the weekend who had both lived in Alice Springs a long time ago, and they were shocked at the state of the town, the impact of crime over many years on the town. So we've got a long way to go, but look, these signs are encouraging and we have to be optimistic.
Yeah. But Katie, as you said, the statistics are encouraging. Look, our commitment to restoring law and order, the statistics that you've just rattled off are very encouraging, but is there more to do? Of course there's more to do, and we acknowledge that, and that's what we're constantly doing every day of the week, getting out there, focus on reducing crime, but restoring law and order. And I think when we talk about what has worked, I think we came to government on a focus of reducing crime right across the Northern Territory, and I think, as we said, the statistics are encouraging. But I think when you look back, we put in place some very strong bail laws, and I think if you look at some of these statistics between the 6th of January and 30th of September, 4,587 adults were refused bail. That's a 38% increase for the same period last year. So is there some correlation there? Well, we need to examine that further, but certainly the refusal of bail, a drop in crime rates, things are working, but we certainly acknowledge there's a lot more to do right across the Northern Territory.
Yeah.
And I do want to acknowledge the work that our frontline officers are doing. I think all credit must go to the police and those agencies, right through whether it's housing safety officers, whether it's transit officers, our children and families departments, our education. Just getting kids to school makes a difference. Everything makes a difference when it comes to crime, and our holistic approach is certainly making a difference.
I will note, I caught up with the new Police Commissioner, Martin Dole, earlier in the week. I'd interviewed him on the show. Now, he had said that, yes, there had been a slight reduction, but he said there's still a lot of work to be done, and they're going to be working very hard on that. I had asked if there is going to be a bit more of a move towards proactive policing again, because I think over the years, sort of post-COVID, and then with, unfortunately, extremely high rates of crime, what we saw is that our frontline officers were simply not able to get out to everything. So had asked if there's going to be a move towards that real proactive policing. He said that, that is something that they'd like to do. I do also want to note, I'd caught up with the Deputy Corrections Commissioner about a week and a half ago, and he had also noted that that in our watch houses, that we no longer have the high volume of prisoners that we did in our watch houses. So hopefully that is also a good thing. But, there is no doubt that we have suffered dramatically when it comes to the impacts of crime. I do think that, I wonder, I think that a lot of people would probably agree across the top end that things are a bit better, but we do still have a long way to go. But there's also a long way to go in terms of that restoring of, restoring that confidence with Territorians that, when something does happen, they call the police, they're going to be able to get someone out there in a timely fashion, and that there will be that proactive policing again. So there is that restoring of the confidence. And that's not a criticism of the police in any way. In fact, I think they work incredibly hard. There's no other way to put it. But we, as a community, whether you're in Tennant Creek, Alice Springs, wherever you may be, we all want to feel safe. We want to be safe in our homes. And we want to know that should something go wrong, that the good men and women in the police force are able to get out there and help us.
And Katie, that's what we're doing. We're focused on getting more police on the street. We want to see police on the front line, and just over the last financial year, 182 new sworn officers. Yes, we can talk about attrition rates, but the facts are 182 additional police. And when you've got police on the front line, visible, the public has confidence when they see police out and about and responding to those issues. And I think when you look at that overall, yes, the police want to be proactive. I think we're slowly getting on top of some of those issues. And when you talk about less prisoners in police watch houses, it just goes to show that the Corrections Minister has been out there doing his part, and we are getting more beds back in prison so that there is a better flow of prisoners outside of watch houses.
I don't disagree, Katie, but our police do a fantastic job, and I think the appointment of Martin Dole is great and has been welcomed by many. But this is not an issue that we should be leaving up to the police alone. I think we need to look at other models like alternative first responder models where we're working with, night patrols, patrolling groups, community groups to look at. There are measures that we can have and other groups that we can use to de-escalate situations to save police being called out for something that they otherwise shouldn't normally have to deal with. It's recognising the value of our police and letting them get on with the job of policing. There are other ways that we can look at those patrols.
And that's what the police are doing.
And I think, Katie, we are seeing at the moment that, there are a lot of people in the corrections facilities. So really interested to continue to find out from the Corrections Minister what are the programs that are being developed, because at some point people have to be released from prison and go back into the community, be reintegrated, and then how we respond and keep the recidivism reduced is really important. And I'm actively really willing to work with anyone around what that looks like.